I'm Dr. John, and this is your Maintenance Minute. Before we get started with today's topic, I want to congratulate Doran Goman, who is a planner at the Mars Corporation, with being the very first person to subscribe to my YouTube channel and also being the first person to like my initial video. I also want to thank Wes Cash, who is the Vice President for Services at Noria Corporation, headquartered in Tulsa, Oklahoma, for coming up with the name Maintenance Minute. So I'm going to call this series, this offering on YouTube, Dr. John's Maintenance Minute. And like I said, I'm Dr. John, and this is your Maintenance Minute. We're going to talk about a topic that I don't think gets much fanfare, and I think is absolutely critical if we're starting an improvement program in maintenance and reliability, and that's where you and I are going to start. Years ago, I was doing an assessment of a maintenance program with a colleague of mine, a gentleman named Earl Porter. Earl is very famous in maintenance and reliability. He is reported to have created the world's first computerized maintenance management system. And Earl is also the person who purchased the Marshall Institute from the person who founded it, Mr. George Smith. So Earl is very famous in our business. Earl and I pull up to the client side to do this assessment day one. And before we get out of the car, Earl reaches over and puts his hand on my arm and he says, "John, do you know why we do assessments?" And I said, "No, Earl, why do we do assessments?" Now, I know why we do assessments. I've done hundreds of them around the world, but here's the old man himself, a person you typically got to climb to the top of the mountain to get such sage advice. This man is of great wisdom. He's a great colleague, and he's a very profound person. And I said, "Earl, why do we do assessments?" And Earl says, "Because, John, even if you know where you're going, you're still lost if you don't know where you are." Here's what I'm suggesting. We're trying daily to lead our maintenance organizations and our reliability effort to some visionary point on the horizon, perhaps over the mountain to the promised land. But we haven't yet established or really yet owned where we're starting from. You can't lead someone if you don't first know where you're starting from. And I mean you have to own it. Probably your assessment and your audit's not going to be very good. Let's just face it, maybe you're not that good. But that's not where we're stopping. We're just passing through this point. I want us to own and measure where we are. You've heard the saying that if you don't measure it, you can't improve it. I'm here to tell you if you don't measure it, you cannot prove it. So we're going to take an assessment, an honest reading of where we are now, and then we're going to do something awesome for 6 months. And we're going to come back and we're going to measure that delta between where we started and where we are 6 months later. And we're going to celebrate that little bit of incremental improvement. And then we're going to do something awesome for another 6 months, and so on and so on. And we're moving that direction, and we're starting from here. Can anyone name a single improvement program or process that doesn't first start with taking an honest assessment of where you are now? If you want to lose weight, you get on the scale and see where you are now. If you want to improve your finances, you take a look at your spending habits and you come to some realization they're not very good and you need to change something, and you make that change and you go forward and you measure how well you've been improving. If you're trying to improve a relationship, you have to own the fact that sometimes the problem is actually you. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to assess our maintenance organization, an honest assessment. You may do it internally. You may hire a contractor, come in and take an honest assessment, and it's probably not going to be pretty. There's going to be some pockets of excellence. There can be some areas that you need to work on. From that, we're going to develop a strategy, and we're going to point our ship that direction, and that's where we're going to go. And like I said, 6 months from now, after doing something awesome, we're going to be able to measure, and we're going to be able to prove the improvement that we made. And we're going to be able to calculate some return on investment that other folks will invest in the maintenance organization because they can see that we're making progress. Folks, that's my topic and that's my point on assessments and audits. I suggest that you get one and you get one soon. This has been your Maintenance Minute. Thank you.